What is going on, Cigar Club family? Welcome to another episode here on the Cigar Club podcast. Today, we are talking about two things: cigar and whiskey unicorns. And joining me to bring in his unicorn collection, which most certainly will outdo my unicorn collection, is the Palate Prince, Dave and Pugh.
Don't be so humble. You've got some killer things, and I'm really excited to see what you are going to say or is on your cigar and bourbon whiskey holy grail unicorn list today.
And I pulled a couple of these that I was really bummed because my favorite unicorn cigar is at home, in my home humidor.
No.
So I brought another one that's kind of like it, but it's not. But anyway, we've got a really cool set of lists here in both whiskey and in cigars. And this is an interesting topic because it's that collector mindset. Which is in cigars. I don't think it's as heavy as it is in whiskey, mainly bourbon. But it is still there. Those cigars that sit on your shelf or in your humidor, the whiskey that sits on your shelf that you just can't get yourself to smoke or drink.
I am really, really guilty of this, especially with cigars. Bourbon, I buy and eventually make my way towards. I do have a couple bottles that I'll simply probably never open just because the novelty of them or the extreme rarity of them. But I'm very, very guilty in buying cigars or purchasing an expensive cigar specifically for a special occasion, or to say, hey, I'm going to smoke this on a special occasion, and then just never smoking it because it's either expensive or I only have one of them or I never find that perfect moment to smoke them. So before we jump into it today, I said, let's do it. So I grabbed one of my unicorns.
No, you're smoking it on the show?
I'm smoking it on the show. I'm already into it. But I wanted to, I imagine this is someone's unicorn out there. So I wanted to smoke it. You know, maybe they will never buy it or have a chance to find it. I bought this 4 years ago, and it's been sitting in the humidor ever since. And I always say, I need to smoke it. Birthday, anniversary, vacation, whatever. And I never do. So today, I've already lit it up, so I didn't hesitate.
For the podcast.
I am smoking, it's hard to see in there, but if you're listening, it is a 2017 Davidoff Art Edition. It's been sitting there. I bought it at, I don't even know where it was, but it was a Davidoff store, or that carried Davidoff, not a Davidoff store, but I bought it on a whim and said, hey, I'm going to buy this and smoke it for some celebration or whatever. And I don't know if the mood never came up or the weather wasn't perfect or I forgot about it, but I knew I had it. And so we've got that. And because we don't hold back here, I wanted to drink someone's unicorn as well.
If you opened up your Weller...
Which,
there
first
it
off,
is.
I'm really sad this is starting to get empty.
As soon as you start to not see the George T. Stagg name is when you get nervous. And they just announced they're not going to be doing a 2021.
Exactly. So this was a 2017 George T. Stagg. So it also coincidentally lined up with the 2017 Art Edition. It's a unicorn, right? I very rarely go to this pour. I actually don't think this is probably going to pair well with this cigar. I think the proof is probably going to be too high at 129.2. But hey, you know what? I've got it. Life's too short. You never know what's going to happen. Smoke them if you've got them. Don't ever, if you've got the opportunity to smoke a unicorn, so let them sit there. And especially with cigars too, right? Sometimes that flavor profile will change if you let them sit too long. And hopefully that's not the case with this.
Here's something else about smoke them if you got them. I have all too often put cigars aside, and I just realized another one I don't have with me that I want to talk about. Anyway, I have all too often put cigars aside and said, on my birthday, when I buy a house, when I have my first kid, on my anniversary,
everywhere for the record,
I'll smoke this, and I'll do that, and the cigar won't live up to what I remember. Mm-hmm. And that could be partially because it's 2 years since I got it, and it was really in its prime when I first smoked it, or you just hype it up so much because it's I only smoke this cigar every 5 years. You won't be let down if you just smoke it and are amazed at it and enjoy it in the moment. You could be let down if you sit on it for 5 years and you're like, all right, I've thought about this cigar for all this time. You light it up and you're like, oh, I don't love it. Which is why it's if it's one you love, just smoke it.
Yeah.
Smoke it then and there.
Yeah, I think, I'm bad about it. The mainly
Disagree
thing is
with
just
me,
finding...
Pugh. I dare you. Do it.
No, I completely agree. The one thing that I have an issue is finding that perfect moment. And I think that's where I overhype a cigar, is that like right now the conditions aren't ideal. Like a rainstorm just passed through. It's quite humid out. But I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Because normally I would be like, no, let's go grab a daily smoke or something that I'm used to, or, something that I don't mind lighting up if I can only get halfway through. And
Right.
I need to get better about that because I have a lot of cigars to smoke. Not enough time to smoke all my cigars. So I need to smoke what I want to smoke at that time. And if something's not perfect, that's still okay.
Correct. And we love the flower shirt today, by the way. I just noticed it.
Thank you.
We're fired up. What is the details on the 2017 Art Edition?
So I've got them pulled up. It's a 6x54 Toro. It's a Ecuadorian Habano wrapper and binder. The filler, I'm not even going to try to pronounce because there is some filler in here that I don't recognize. But we've got Dominican Republic filler. We've got some Brazilian filler in there as well.
But what is the story on the Art Edition? Like where does that name come from? Because we know like the Chef's Edition, right?
Yes. So this is I believe a yearly release that they do. And they have beautiful box art. So if you're at home listening, pull up the Davidoff Art Edition boxes. They're basically I assume is they have an artist that comes through, and for the 2017 there was like 5 different box arts to them. So they're just gorgeous painted boxes. And as far as I know, that's the story behind it. I don't know if they, like the Chef's Edition, they go out and particularly work with an artist to blend the cigar. I think it's more so they blend this really good cigar with rare tobacco, and then they find an artist to conceptualize the box.
Got it. Okay, cool. I mean, Davidoff, the king of limited cigars, like every one of them is so cool. And whether it's like a story that they tell about it or the visuals. I still am obsessed, and I haven't had any, but the ones that they just do in the brown gold paper with the lines and they put the label over top of it, that's always the one that captures me, and I'm like, I just want to buy the whole pack. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I've never smoked those. Davidoff's to me, it's my go-to treat yourself brand. I love their marketing. I love their concepts.
Yes,
I love
I agree.
their limited tobaccos that they know they're only going to get one run out of it, but they're still okay producing producing that limited run. It's cool to see kind of some of those rare varietals and what they can do.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. It is a treat yourself because for that one, I'm assuming MSRP is what, 40, 39?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's you have to think about that purchase, but yeah, that's the beauty of Davidoff. Very few times do they let you down. What a way to kick it off! You're literally smoking it. I just can't believe that you're smoking it on the podcast right now. We all should feel honored.
I had to put myself to it, right? This was all about smoking your unicorns, talking about your unicorns. And if someone's out there, any of these unicorns that are on our list today, if you've got them, smoke them. Let us know how they are, or if they're one of our bourbons, drink it. Tell us, how it is, if it's worth the hype, and whether or not it should be on our list or not.
Absolutely.
But let's. I think we should get right into it. Kick us off, Dave.
Pugh, you've already kicked us off. Is that not on your list?
Not on my list because I haven't. To me, a unicorn is one that's not on your list that you're constantly searching for. Switching up on Dave. I should have clarified.
Here's the problem now: is I did unicorns that I own.
Okay.
Because
we should have talked about
the unicorns you can't touch, which is totally fine. So then Pew's doing unicorns he doesn't have.
Fair enough.
I'm doing unicorns I own.
All right, that works. No, this is completely...
It'll be exciting. Okay, so, cigar-wise, I have... I don't know exactly where to start, but I'm going to start with this one. The one in my hand is not the exact one, but it's the only one I had of this brand here. The other one is at my house. This cigar was given to me in 2018 or 19, very nonchalantly. I was in Key West. It's not a Rodriguez. I was in Key West meeting with this guy, and we were talking cigars, and he's like, I got something for you. He goes into his humidor and hands me an Opus X Petit Lancero Bellicoso, which I'd never even seen before.
No way. Just, here you go.
It just handed it to me because we were talking about cigars, and I was like, I love like the 109 caps, and we were talking about Aganorsa, and I'm like, I love all of them, I just wish people would make them in smaller ring gauges. But but it's very hard to like make a 40 or 42 or 44 that has that like not torpedo, but like short Bellicoso 109 tip.
Yep.
And that's where he's like, okay, I have one for you. And it's 6 1/4 by 39 with the most beautiful, like perfect Bellicoso tip, Opus X, Petite Lancero. That's one I can't bring myself to smoke. But now after this combo, I'm going to smoke it this week.
Good.
Maybe I'll smoke it on FA4 or something, or on the next podcast. If I had it with me right now, I would be smoking it.
I would tell you to. I wouldn't let this continue
because I have just that's the cigar I've held on to the longest ever in my life. Is that one 2018, which isn't that long, 3.5 years ago. I got that cigar and was so enamored by it because I'd never heard of it. I've never seen any cigar like it, and it's not like a weird, crazy shape. It's just people don't make Lanceros with a Bellicoso tip.
Yeah.
And it's Opus, so the tobacco's probably amazing. And it's like a light, almost Connecticut shade. Anyway, that is the number one cigar on my unicorn list that I own. Caveat. While
we do talk about these things, folks. We do plan this beforehand.
I am going to be thinking while we are chatting, though, if there's any that pop into my mind of ones I don't have that I want to have, because there are plenty. But anyway, that's my first one. Kicking it back over to you, Mr. Pugh.
That's a great one. Opus is definitely. I'm going to follow that up with Opus on my list. Mine are in no particular order, but I bet that cigar not only smells amazing, but that's just going to be a phenomenal.
It's going to be flawless. Like,
yep. Very rarely, if ever, have I been let down by an Opus. I mean, their quality control is absolutely superb. And those are ones that, if you're going to drop $20-$25 on a cigar,
yes,
you should feel pretty confident that if you're picking up an Opus, you're probably going to have really great construction and everything will hit on the mark.
And I think the Petite Lancero only sold for $16 a stick. You can't find them anymore.
Can't find them anymore.
They're done. So
to follow that up, I'm going to stay similar in line. I'm going to break the mold. It's not a cigar, but it's a sampler of cigars, you could say.
Oh.
It's going to be the Opus 6 assortment that they come out with every year that are in the red, the blue, the black, the yellow boxes. And then within that, they've got a whole slew of rare Fuente Opus cigars. It's been one it's common that come out every year. I could jump on the gun if I want to.
Yep.
It's an investment. And so that's where it lands on my unicorn list. Not so much that it's hard to find, but it's an investment for, I think it's like 6 cigars, hence the name Opus 6. But let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 6 cigars. It comes in this beautiful packaging, travel humidor for it. It's one of those that I'd love to buy, and I would fall into the category, I probably wouldn't smoke these because it's a chunk of change. It's more than I typically would want to spend on a cigar. Maybe it would be a celebratory box purchase, celebrating something. Who knows, right? But that's one that's been on my list for a while. I love Opus. I love their marketing. I love their limited edition. I've never had anything bad before. But it's one of those that I have put off on buying because I know I'd probably fall into the same routine if I'd buy it and I'd sit on it and not smoke it because, I would never find that perfect weather condition or perfect reason to celebrate and pull one out and smoke them.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm making a name for myself on how I talk about Padron, and I don't want to be a Padron shit talker at all. I do not. But I will say that to me, between Opus and them, like you can't compare them. Opus it's just another level, and every single one I have has totally different characteristics, like line over line. They're very unique to themselves. The amount of flavor that they get in these cigars is like nothing I've tasted in any other cigar before. So to me, they're like the flagship of like that ultra premium sought after cigar. Like, I trust Opus that I will love it and it will be a game changing experience over any other brand.
I completely agree. And a lot of it for me is growing up, my dad, those would be things that I would hear. I would hear the name Opus. I would hear the name Davidoff for, celebratory sticks and celebrations and just higher end cigars. And for me, the appeal of an Opus or Fuente is the moment I light it up, I immediately know it's an Opus because of that aged tobacco. It just has this musty, mushroomy uniqueness that can only be, or that I've usually only find in tobacco that has aged for 5 or 6 years prior to rolling. And I love it.
There's something about Opus, and that is the cigar I smoke every single year after Thanksgiving. After I eat the Thanksgiving meal, it's always an Opus. I love the Opus Double Robusto, and then I just somebody gave me an Angel Share, which I've never had before, but that Double Robusto Maduro, literally every year for the past 3 years after Thanksgiving, I go outside and I light that up because it's like the only thing that I get all the flavor. It matches like how full I am and like the type of meal I just had, blow for blow. And it's like, oh man, I look forward to my Opus every Thanksgiving, and I'll smoke them in between then. But that's the cigar I go to.
It's so funny you call out
Opus,
Thanksgiving
baby.
specifically because every year I get together with my parents and we rent a cabin to celebrate a later Thanksgiving. And each year I bring an Opus for my father and myself. And literally we'll cook the meal and we'll go out, sit by the fire pit, and we'll light up an Opus and sit back and enjoy kind of like the perfect cap to an overeating meal. Even on a completely full Thanksgiving stomach, there's still time for an Opus. And realistically, that's about the only time that I smoke one, just because it's almost like tradition at this point, and it would feel weird going outside of tradition. Yeah. But it's funny that you also smoke it on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I did it a few years back, and I was like, wow, this was like the most enjoyable cigar experience ever after like gorging my face off. So anyway, Opus X, baby. First on both of our lists, although we're not in any particular order. Okay, second on mine is a new one I got, which we've already talked about on the podcast. And again, I'm working under the impression of these are things I already have. And that is this Crown Heads 4 Kicks Lancero. I can't find anything about it online. I don't think it actually exists. And that's why I love it so much. Like, it is, I think, it looks like a 7 by 38 or like 7 1/4 by 38. Might be longer than 7. And I'm going to smoke it. It's about the same length as the Jericho Hill that you sent me, Pugh.
Okay.
I'm going to smoke it, but this is like straight up. This is a hesitant to smoke one because I know I'll never see it again. I won't even be able to look at it online and think about when I had it. I will never see this again when it's smoked.
Yeah, I've got that looks like almost the same mold as the Jericho Hill. But that's special. I've had a couple cigars that have been gifted to me that are not production release cigars, or maybe a private blend, and it's so hard to smoke those because you probably don't know what's in it, probably doesn't have a band, probably doesn't have a name, and you're like, this is special because the story behind it, someone gifting it to you. I was gifted a cigar from a vendor. I don't want to say their name, but it was a private, this is one that he had held on for a while that was gifted to him, and he gifted it to me, and I sat on it for a long time and eventually smoked it, and it was phenomenal. Like, hit all the notes. And then what was the unfortunate part is it didn't have a name, right? So I just have this insert brand name here, private cigar that was fantastic. Yep. And usually I try to have like a photo log on my phone, even if it doesn't go on to social media or anything like that. I try to take photos of every cigar that I smoke so I can go back and not only help myself like come up with my top 10 of whatever year we're in, but also that might be the only information I have about that cigar, simply that photo. So it's nice to kind of reminisce on some of those, and why I enjoy Instagram, because I can post kind of like a photo journal of cigars. Like Instagram and the posts that I put on Instagram,
they're for you.
Really just for me, because I don't remember half the cigars that I end up smoking, or it's nice to go back and think of what I paired with that cigar, something like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The unbanded, unreleased sample cigars are the most dangerous because you hit the gems and you're like, well, I guess nothing happens now. I got that experience, which in a lot of ways is worth it. And you can either sit on it, which is just another unbanded cigar, or you can smoke it, take a photo of it, and always remember it.
I'm going to jump in and give an update on the Davidoff Art Edition.
We're here for it.
So far, we're about a third in. First off, great construction. I have botch the ash a little times by running into it with my phone or mic stand here. But great construction. It's windy out. We just had a rain come through. Burning great. Flavors are subtle. The cold draw was this beautiful floral berry, light berry notes. Right now into it, we're getting this kind of creamy chocolate, a little bit of cedar, a little bit of leather. There's definitely some aged tobacco. It's not as apparent or as forefront of something like an Opus that we just talked about, but it does have that little bit of mustiness to it. I imagine this cigar was pretty banging when it first came out. I think it's aged well. I'm not regretting sitting on it for so long. Davidoff is known for, I love their infographics where they show like first third, second third, third, where they break down the flavor notes from each. One of the favorite things about them, but so far, great. Good transitions, a lot of nuances that are kind of playing. I did predict that the George T. Stagg would be a little strong for it, but hey, why not?
Why?
Right? The purpose of the episode.
Why not? No, I agree with you on that one, Pugh. I'm glad that's what you're drinking. All right, so number 2 on your list, Pugh. What do we have here, cigar-wise?
Coming in next, I'm going to stick with the Davidoff theme. And this is one that I slept on in 2019. I kept pushing off, hey, I want to buy it, never found it, or, maybe didn't find it online or purposely go out of my way to find it. But it's the Winston Churchill Limited Edition 2019 The Traveler.
Oh, man.
I immediately fell in love with this cigar when they first announced it and released it. I'm a sucker for a box. I'm
looking at it right now.
Make a beautiful box. The secondary band, that blue and how it contrasts with the white and gold of the primary Winston Churchill band, it's beautiful.
The tray,
the box itself is a humidor that you can throw a Boveda underneath of it. The cigars sit on a tray. I mean, this is one that I completely regret not buying.
And now it's out of stock.
It's hard for me to pull the trigger, and it was one of those, like, if I was going to buy it, I was going to buy the box. Right. Because I wanted the box. I didn't want a 3 or a 5-pack. I wanted the whole shebang. And maybe financially I wasn't there, or I just never found a reason to be able to justify pulling the trigger. But that's one that's been sitting on my wish list that I kick myself in the butt. I'm going to circle back to another story about kicking myself in the butt. So I've got a cigar kick yourself in the butt, and I've got a whiskey kick yourself in the butt.
I walked in, they had all this thing called Pappy, but it was $80, and I wasn't going to spend that on a whiskey.
Not that bad, but for me, it's pretty close because it is my top unicorn bottle.
Oh, no. Stay tuned, people. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that one. But absolutely gorgeous cigar. I don't even know if the cigar is great. I don't know if it holds up to other Davidoff releases. It could be a complete flop, but I'm obsessed with that box. I know you are as well, but I'm a sucker for marketing and great brands. And that one hits all the marks.
No, it's stunning. I love the Winston Churchill line from Davidoff. The tins of the little Bellicosos, they're like 4.5 by 44, 4 by 44. I love that cigar. And I love the band. I love this. Winston Churchill is like one of my favorite characters in history. And that is like the Davidoff. I always am kind of like, I'll buy it. Because I just think it's so cool. I feel like Winston would smoke that profile. You know what I mean? I'm like, I feel like he'd approve.
Especially the late hour. The late hour Winston Churchill is one that I did buy a box of. I still have some left in that box. I think I brought you one one time.
That is a crazy cigar because of how like musty and earthy and mushroomy. Yeah.
It's wild. I love it. It's a great campfire cigar because it's the tobacco's aged in Scotch barrels. It's one that, like you said, I think Winston would be like, this is a cigar? Like, what's going on here? Putting both of his favorite things together. But yeah, those late hours are fantastic, and I'm pretty sure that's a regular production. So that's usually a box that I'll probably keep on hand just because it's a perfect cigar, in my opinion. I think it's really
totally
good. And it's not overly expensive either. So it's one that I don't mind because it's a full box. It's not a tenner that runs the cost of a 25 box count.
Yeah, it's a little more approachable. Totally. All right. So before we both get to our last ones on the cigar list, before we head to bourbon, real quick plug here for the first ever Cigar Club event in person coming up in Moon Township, aka Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at Smokestack Cigars. We will put the link to the Eventbrite in the YouTube description. / we'll put it on the podcast description as well, where you can claim your free ticket. Pugh, unfortunately, is not going to be there with us. He has
unfortunately not
informed us. But myself and most likely Griff and potentially Ramsey, we're trying to shake everyone's schedules out and see if it'll work. We'll be there at Smokestack Cigars in Pittsburgh, November 7th, 1 to 5 p.m. to release the brand new Pinkies Out limited edition cigar that we did in partnership with Alec and Bradley Rubin. So if you're near Pittsburgh, or even if you're not, we're giving you enough heads up. You got a month. Book your ticket and get there. I promise you, if you come in your Cigar Club family, you will leave with something special.
Really bummed that I won't get to miss that. I know you guys are all going to have a blast at that event. If you're in the area, come on over. If you're not in the area, book your tickets. Get those car arrangements or flights made. Come out. It's going to be a wonderful time.
All right. So next cigar, I'm going to end this one with what I should have done in the first place. I'm going to end it with a unicorn that I never smoked.
Ooh.
But then I'm also going to call out like 2 other ones really quickly. But third one on my list, unicorn I never smoked. And this is specific to the year, because I've smoked the subsequent ones. The original release, Warped Black Honey.
Okay.
Original release. I had the 2018 or 17 and then the 19, but I never had the 15 or 16, whatever year the first one was out. That is up here to me of a cigar that I never had that I wish I could have.
I will completely ruin you. I was fortunate enough to smoke one of the original releases. I was able to get the second release in 2018.
Something like that, yeah. Not.
I still have some from that 2018 release.
Not the same anymore.
No, it's still a great cigar. But, and you know what? You could put them side by side and I probably couldn't pick them out. However, that cigar I got was gifted to me, the original Black Honey release. And once again, the story behind it, the generosity of someone sending me that cigar, added to the kind of limited release of that Black Honey, the hype that was already there for it in the first place. That's a phenomenal cigar. And the 2018 release, we'll call it, equally as good. I mean, not equally as good, but still good in and of itself. Comparing it to the original, I wish I had. If I had an original release, I would.
Anybody has an OG Black Honey out there, I will trade you a lot of cigars for that single one. That's all I'm saying. Another one that I actually still have, I think I have 1 or 2 left, was also Warped, was the Moon Garden Lancero that he released in 19. And I hunted forever to find that. I found some random brick and mortar in California that had posted about them on their Instagram. And I'm like, hey, do you guys still have these? He's like, yeah, we have like 5 or 6 left. And I'm like, I want to buy them. We PayPal'd each other for them because they were not an online shop. I found them through just scrolling because I missed the initial release. And I was on Reddit. I was on eBay. I was everywhere. Eventually found this guy, got a 5-pack of them. And it was a great cigar.
So you have some?
Yep. Have you not had it?
Okay. I think I have a box.
Ooh. I thought you were going to say you did. I'm like, I will send you one. I think I have 1 or 2 left.
I know I have I think I have a box. I'd have to go double check. Because I may be confusing that with the Skyflower Lancero.
From this past year.
From recent release. But because I'm looking at the band and I'm confident.
It's like turquoise.
Sure but could be wrong.
It's not,
it's like
there's
turquoise
no gold.
and dark, like a dark black. Yeah. I'm fairly confident I have a box of that one. So and I know I've smoked it at least. But that's a great cigar.
It really is a good cigar. And the last one I had written down was this beast, the Sereno A. 2,000 of them. I still haven't smoked it.
That one was on my list until I got one.
Cool.
I have one. When I remember Carson posted 2019 maybe posted a story on their Instagram of the Sereno A, and I was like, I even messaged. I was like, how can we get this? He's like, oh, it's a limited release. Some retailers may have it. Search for it. Never found it. And then 2020 Black Box.
CigarClub Black Box.
And I was I literally bought the black box just for that cigar. Like, there could have been nothing else that I wanted in it, but that cigar had it, and it was totally worth it.
This cigar, it's cool. I think he made 2,000 of them total, 2,000 coffins or 1,800 coffins. And I mean, that's a very rare release for a national brand. So anyway,
for sure,
those are mine. Pugh, close us out in the cigar category with a bang.
So this has been a cigar that I have smoked. I've only ever smoked one or two of them, and it was my first Warped cigar that I ever smoked. And I can still remember the very first time I smoked it. I can literally close my eyes and it takes me back to it. Is the Warped original release Villa Sombra. To me, for anyone not watching at home, he is showing it in front of me because he has one.
I have one with your name on it. That's what I have. And I don't have the mojito size left because I smoked those so fast you can't even imagine.
Killer.
My favorite Connecticut of all time. But I do have it's like Robusto or Grand Robusto, and this one that I'm holding will be going in your package that I still need to get out to you. I literally took it out of your package, which is just sitting on my desk, just to show it off when I saw your note on it. And it is yellow as hell.
So that cigar, I bet. That cigar I smoked for the very first time at the lake. It was a morning. I had a strong, dark cup of coffee. Gorgeous out, day on the lake, right? You can't go wrong first off there. But sat outside on the deck, lit it up, walked out of the dock with my cup of coffee. I still have the photo somewhere. Just, to me, it's the original release. I know Kyle's coming out with a re-release here in the near future. At least he's teased about it. To me, that is the most Cuban-esque U.S. or non-Cuban cigar that I've ever smoked. It's got that forward profile, a little bit of breadiness, or at least from what I remember, a little bit of breadiness, and then just this beautiful cedar undertone that carries throughout the whole cigar. It's not this cigar that changes every third, at least for me, but it was a consistent profile that I loved. Went great with the morning cup of coffee. And then every Cuban that I've had since kind of it reminds me of that Villa Sombra.
Yeah. I punch myself almost every day. We'll talk about a kick yourself moment. When I first moved to Ohio, I went down to Party Source in Northern Kentucky, walked into their humidor, and they had this massive warped section. And I'm like, this is awesome. And then I start looking and I'm like, El Oso Lancero, El Oso Bellicoso, Villa Sombra, both sizes, Lirio Rojo, 18 and 19. I mean, dude, I was looking at these and I was like, I'm in shock and awe. And I bought 5 of each of the Villa Sombras. I should have they had 2 boxes left that probably had a couple gone, so there's probably 20 of each. And they were on sale. They were 20% off because they were trying to move them out. Because I guess nobody knew the brand there. And I bought 5 of each, and I punch myself every day for not buying both boxes because I could have probably bought both boxes for $180, $200. And
oh no.
And I smoked that mojito one, and I was like, I made a mistake. And by the time I went back to get them, they were gone. And it is what it is. But I just remember that cigar. It was one of my favorite warps. That and the one year when I was really big in trying to hunt down the black honeys, I stumbled upon a really sketchy website in Tampa that had the most random warps ever. And I'm like, this probably is just going to steal my money. I bought a warped La Colmena, Amato. No,
44,
no, sorry.
like that?
That's the regular production one. This one was, I need to look up the size. It was a Lancero Colmena.
No, I didn't even know they made them.
I've never seen it before. I'll find it when you go into your bourbon. I'll find the exact name of it. And I was like, oh, this must be a mistake. So I added it to the cart. It showed up. That was the best tasting warp cigar I've ever smoked in my life. And I only had one. And by the time when I went back on, there was none. So I'm assuming it was the last. They had a straggler because you couldn't buy a 5-pack.
Found it sitting in the back of the
And it was insane. I know I have a photo of it somewhere on Instagram. But anyway, yeah, I really do love, and I think it's one thing I miss or why I still gravitate towards cigars that we can't even get as Cigar Club because it's so much fun to me to get the ungettable. Which
I completely agree.
It's like
it's nice, a lot of the cigars we smoke are work related, and it's great. I love it. It's fantastic, but it is nice every once in a while to branch out to something that I normally wouldn't smoke and kind of sit back and separate myself from the business side of things and researching or validating of customs or future blends that we have, and be able to sit down and go, cool, this cigar that I'm smoking, not work related. I'm going to sit down and relax and kind of separate the thinking about work or thinking about pairings and whatever it may be. And that's kind of what I do with these, limited releases or unicorn cigars.
I found it, and I found the website it was on, and I got excited for a second because it didn't say sold out, but it is, because I added it to cart. It's the Warped La Colmena Amato number 36. It's a 6x36. And I remember I bought that, and then I bought Cristales before he re-released Cristales, and you couldn't find it. And I bought those two on there and just lost my mind. Anyway, I'm going to send you the link, Pew, because there might be some other goodies on here that we can find.
Look at that.
Anyway.
I found it. That thing is gorgeous. Oh, man. That's a completely new one. Never even heard of that one before. It's amazing what's out there and those little kind of one-offs. And I don't know if that was a private release or a single-time release, but that thing looks gorgeous, and I bet that was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm going to save my and this one will be for my whiskey list. This will be in order, and I'm going to save my unicorn, my holy grail, creme de la creme, top of the list for last. So I'll kick us off with a unicorn that
Let's
have had.
talk whiskey.
I was fortunate enough. Well, this is another one that I've had, like I did with the Villa Sombra. I don't know if I would actually buy the bottle, but it's a bottle that I want, and that's going to be Heaven Hill 27. I was fortunate enough to get a pour of this when I was doing the Bourbon Trail in 2019. I walked into one of the oldest bars in Kentucky. It was sitting on the shelf. I was talking to Bailey, and I was like, I'd love to drink that. But I know if I have to ask the price, that it's probably way out of my price range, because I normally should have been. So we've been drinking all day. No shocker there. Bailey summons the courage. It was just us and the bartender. Like, there was no one else in this place. And she goes, how much is it for a pour of the Heaven Hill 27? And the lady turns around. She goes, well, fortunately for you, it's half price top shelf bourbon. And this place has every bourbon that you can imagine. And I was like, okay, how much is it? And she goes, normally it'd be $100 for a pour, but it's $50. And I go, yes, please. Bailey looks at me like, she looks over at me. She's like, wait, you're serious? And I was like, absolutely. 100%. Like, all day long. That's a $100 pour that I'll never get to have again. So this was, if you're unsure or I've never heard of it, it was a 27-year-old Heaven Hill bourbon that predated the fire that burnt down a lot of their warehouses.
It's legit 27 years old in the barrel.
It is legit 27 years old.
Wow.
Its MSRP, I believe, is $500 a bottle, which to me, I think they only produced 2,100. I mean, it was very, very limited. That may have even been more, super limited barrel release. It's one that I knew I would never see again. I was shocked to see it. So I immediately jumped on it, and I nursed that pour, and it was fantastic. Going into a 27-year-old bourbon, it's going to be heavily oaked. To me, I enjoy that. A lot of people don't. I thought the oak was really balanced by vanilla, caramel undertones. Completely worth. I would do that $50 pour all day, every day. If I found a bottle for MSRP, I don't think I would not buy it. Throw it on the old credit card and deal with it another day. The secondhand market is like $2,200 plus, which I would not spend. I'm not one that likes to spend over MSRP in the first place, but at $500, that bottle is totally worth it for me. The coolness of it, having pre-fire Heaven Hill bourbon, having a bourbon that's 27 years old in and of itself is really cool. But that was phenomenal. Great story. Great place to have it. I mean,
unreal.
One of the oldest bars in Kentucky. You can't.
You can't. That is freaking cool. And $50 all day is worth a pour of something like that.
Especially it was vacation, right? So we were out. You're already in that mindset of treating yourself. You've been drinking all day doing tours and stuff like that. But definitely not a purchase that I've seen Weller 12 for $50 a pour, which is absurd to me. But the fact that I was like, yeah, I immediately, no hesitation. Yeah, I'll take a pour.
Yeah. I'm literally updating one of them on here now because I want to do my 2 that I have, one that I want to have, and it just finally dawned on me. I was like, what is the one I try and put in the back of my head and I don't get excited about so that I don't spend over MSRP on it, relatively speaking, within $100? But anyway, okay.
Well, I'm not going to look because I wanted to.
All right, first on my list is one that I have. I haven't opened it yet. I know, drink them if you got them. I'm going to open this one with the baby. It's going to be my yay, baby's here. We're excited. Open it. Nobody has more, dramatizations over a child than me, clearly, with all the cigars that I'm making for it and this bottle. But I digress. Old Carter single barrel 13-year Railbird pick. The only
love your Railbird
pick
picks.
Old Carter has ever done.
Wow.
Granted, they're all single barrels, but they've never done it with a collab pick. So that is one I'm sitting on that I cannot wait to have because I have tried it and it is phenomenal.
That's always not the fact that going into it, it's
which actually helps me keep it closed.
It's the same. That's true.
I'm like, I know this is good. I know what it tastes like.
But see, something like that is I think that's a great reason to open that bottle. I don't think there's anything wrong with waiting for a moment to open something special. Just don't be like me and continually push off that special moment or find an excuse not to enjoy that special moment with something that you
100%. 100%.
I'm so bad at that. It's just I got to get better at it.
The other one on my list, I'm just going to jump into my second one. Because I don't even know what time we're at here. I hope everybody's enjoying this. We love you all. Old Forester 150th anniversary, which I found at a random place. I was in Florida. After we had moved up here, we were back in our hometown, and we were driving by our old house to look in, like you always do, I guess. And there was this tiny little liquor store that was always on the other side of the house, in this little plaza. And I'm like, they always randomly had good things. Before I got into bourbon, I remember always seeing Stag Jr. and some Wellers and whatever. So I walk in, and that was the bourbon I had been hunting for at the time. So I walk in, I'm like, do you have Old Forester 150th anniversary? The guy looks at me, and he's like, yes. And I'm like, no, the one in the tube.
Never answer.
He's like, yeah, I have it right here. And he pulls it out. And it was, I believe, 20. I forget what retail on that is, but I want to say I paid 140 for it.
I think it's 125. So
and I was like, yes. He's like, you sure? And I was like, oh, I'm positive. And I bought it, and that bottle is amazing. And that is one I drink I drink it all the time. It's going to be gone by probably the end of this year, but I've just fully enjoyed that bottle, and it's one that I don't hold back drinking, even though you can't come by it anymore.
No, that tube, once again, talking about branding and marketing and design, that tube is absolutely gorgeous. Just really stands out. That'd be one that I'd keep the tube and just keep something.
Yeah.
After I finish the bottle, keep something else.
And the bottle is the bottle is smoke, black, so it never looks empty.
Oh.
So you could always have it on your shelf, right?
I had no idea. Oh, and that's awesome. Fill it with making an infinity bottle or something.
Exactly.
Pour something cheap in there so when your arch nemesis comes over,
they think they're getting that.
Pour it from that, and they think they're getting. Yeah,
it's a great idea. All right, Pugh, number 2. This is your second one, and then we're going to hear your story of where you're still kicking yourself.
Yeah,
dun, dun, dun.
Every night I still kick myself about that upcoming story. So this is another one it's been on my list for the longest time. I'm a huge Willet fan.
Okay.
Getting attacked over here. Okay. What's
Wait.
going on? Hello. Getting stung.
Oh.
Holy shit. We got an angry bee. I'm going to swell up like a grapefruit.
The
Guy
black honey. He wants
sip
the
of the
black honey.
George T. Stagg and a Davidoff
Pugh
Art
almost just
Edition.
died on the podcast from a freaking hornet.
Oh, Jesus, I think it was huge. Anywho, so huge Willet fan. Willet Family Estate Rye is one of my absolute all-time favorite ryes. When I went up to Kentucky, I went and visited Willet, and on their tour, we were able to sip Willet bourbon, Willet Family Estate bourbon specifically, and absolutely phenomenal. I'm not the biggest fan of their pot still or really any of their other bourbon lines. the family estate bourbon just hits completely different. I know they do a lot of single barrel kind of like private picks, so it gets a little bit harder to find the family estate bourbon. It's going to run you $200 to $300. Like it's really expensive. In public if I found one at MSRP, I'd still be hesitant to purchase it. But it is a phenomenal bourbon.
What is that?
It's been on my list
top?
since.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I've had that.
The green top is their rye.
I have the green.
The purple top.
I've tried the purple top, and it blew my mind.
It's crazy to me having pot still and then going over to the family estate bourbon. It doesn't even taste like the same distillery.
Wow.
It's just something special about it. I've walked past a couple bottles, but it was outrageous.
I'm inspired now to go home and drink all my good stuff.
Right?
I'm so excited.
Do it, because you need to. For me, if I'm going to spend a couple $100 on a bottle, I need to go into it expecting to spend a couple $100 on a bottle.
Yeah, you can't stumble upon it.
No. And so if I'm out and I see something on the shelf that's, even if it's at MSRP, like if I walked into a store and there was a $250 bottle of Willett Family Estate Bourbon, but I didn't go into it, I went in to pick up a Evan White label or something like that, it's going to be, usually Bailey is the queen at convincing me to buy something if I see it. We love you,
Bailey.
So if she wasn't with me, probably walk right past it. If she's with me, she's probably like, no, you need to get that. Get it. And I'd buy it. But, I've got to be in that right state of mind to spend that kind of money.
Sure.
But it's one that is, I think, a phenomenal bourbon. It's probably one of my favorites. I think from what I've had, I enjoy it more than George T. Stagg.
Wow. Well, yeah. I guess I have had both, and I would probably agree. I haven't, though George T. Stagg I had was 2019, but the purple top I had was just otherworldly, I would say. The last one on my list here, this is one I do not have. I've never seen it. I've seen the bottle. I've never had a pour from it, tried it, held it, nothing, is Eagle Rare 17. Is number one on my list of the bourbon that I want. And that's that. Didn't they just recently change the proof on? Isn't it now higher proof? The most recent releases? I think it is. I think they upped the entry proof into the bottle in the past 2 or 3 years. But that is I was fortunate enough to have a sip of that one at a cigar event. Phenomenal. That would be one that I wouldn't pair. I would just have that on its own. Like that wouldn't touch anything. I'm not a huge fan of normal Eagle Rare. It's good juice. I think it's a little overhyped. Because the normal Eagle Rare 17 is still only 90 proof.
I swear it was lower proof, but maybe I'm thinking of another Buffalo Trace Antique Collection release.
But you would think it would be higher.
It is really good.
90 is still low.
Yeah. Maybe they went down. Maybe it was 100 and they went down. I don't know.
I'm looking at 2021. That was just 2020.
They also have the even more limited release of the Eagle Rare. Comes in that like silver carton, silver box.
Now, the bottle is now, the whiskey is now bottled at the original strength of 101. So they went up.
There it is. Yeah.
So this is the one I would want.
Yeah.
101 proof.
Yeah. I think it was like 2017 that I had a pour of it, and it completely, it was delicious. I would go back for that pour or that bottle.
Man.
Anytime.
All right, Pugh, we're ready for the story. I'm nervous.
All right, here we go. So, I got big into bourbon probably 2015. First really good bottle of bourbon that I ever had was E.H. Taylor Small Batch. And that really kicked off. Bought it for $35, walked into a liquor store, faced a wall of bourbon, had no idea what I was doing, and literally just went off looks and price alone. So I bought that bottle of Small Batch with zero expectations or zero understanding of what the hype was at the time, or maybe would be as years have gone by. So that was the bottle and the brand that really kicked off my journey. And then in 2017, I was a frequent at one of my local cigar bars. You could purchase alcohol there as well. It was a package store as well as a cigar bar. And at this cigar store, you got loyalty rewards.
Bless you.
We're good. And so, every X amount of dollars that you spend, you'd get $10 or whatever bucks in rewards. So I accumulated a decent amount of rewards, and So I've been saving up, and I wanted to buy something special. You know, they were a little over MSRP, but you know, hey, cool. We'll use these reward points and get a nice bottle. So I went in one day, and I would always check the package store as I'd leave just to see if they got anything new in. And sure enough, on the shelf is sitting an E.H. Taylor. And it was an E.H. Taylor barrel proof. And at the time, I was just getting into high proofers, you know, knew a little bit, but, you know, certainly didn't understand the hype or the draw or demand for some of these products.
I love that bottle so much.
It was like $80.
Oh, no.
$80. It's not even overpriced. Okay. So I was like, all right, cool. Next week, I'm going to have enough rewards to buy it. I didn't have them with me at the time. So I was like, cool, I'll come back in a week, use my rewards, and not have to spend a dime of my own money. Didn't think anything of it. Like, cool, it's going to be there. If it's not, whatever. So I went back the next week, and either they had sold it or they had opened it up to sell at the bar. But it was no longer there. And I will never forgive myself for passing up that bottle. It's been on my... Shortly after that, immediately hit my unicorn list. And looking back on it, it's one of those, like, I realized, yeah, I should have just spent it out of pocket. It wasn't overpriced. It was, you know, right where the MSRP is and should be. And it makes you wonder how many times you walked into a liquor store, you know, and didn't know, didn't even look or especially back in the 2015, 2016 and earlier before that, since, you know, you turned 21, all that good, you know, bottles of bourbon before the hype really took off in the last several years. I imagine there's some older guys out there and gals that predate us and are probably used to reminiscing on seeing Pappy regularly on the shelves, or Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, you know, in the 90s and early 2000s, where, you know, it was the wine or vodka or whatever at the time, whatever the craze was, that would regularly be able to buy Buffalo Trace, Pappy, and all that jazz. But yeah, that's the one that I regularly kick myself. It's the only time I've ever seen E.H. Taylor barrel proof on a shelf for sale. Yeah, that one hits hard and hit home. It's still my number one.
That
unicorn.
bottle is absolutely amazing, and I agree. I can't imagine going back. You don't even have to go back that far. You go back 10 years, and you're walking into every Weller on the shelf. Most of the like Van Winkle 10, Lot B. Once in a while, you'd probably see 23 Pappy or something for like $120, $130. All the E.H. Taylors, all the Buffalo Trace, like. Oh, I can't imagine. Well, if you did go back in time now and everybody else could go back in time, you wouldn't see it. But
it's true.
To go back in time and see that. I sometimes see those Instagram posts of people that like took photos of bourbon shelves in like 2012, 2013, and they're like, look at this.
Full.
You'd be a millionaire if you bottled those then and just sold them now. But that's the fun part about unicorns, though, is this sounds kind of lame. But I'll walk into a shop, and if I see that bottle behind the glass that's fairly priced, or maybe it's not behind the glass, it's just on the shelf, and I'm like, oh my God, they don't know what they have. And your heart starts racing, and you're like, and you like grab it, and you're like, okay, I hope nobody notices, nobody acts natural, I need to be cool here. And there's just something about bourbon hunting that is so exciting. And also, Pugh, I'm pretty sure I just found the Colmena Amada number 36 in stock. So once this is over, we are buying that box.
There you go. Yeah, even better if you're walking into a retail shop and it's priced.
Right.
And it's not sitting behind the counter with no price. If there's no price and it's behind the counter.
Yeah.
Probably
they know what they have.
There's probably a reason it's still back there. Yeah. I walked into a local liquor store, State Run, and that's where I found my Elmer T. Lee.
Oh.
It was like mid-afternoon on a Thursday, day off. I don't know. It was summer. I don't know why I was out. And sitting there, Elmer T. Lee, just on the side, like not even on the shelf, $35, only bottle, or else I would have bought him out of it.
Yeah.
I felt like a kid in a candy store. I was like, yes, please. That's amazing. And I opened that up on the first FA4 that I showed up on. And that bottle is almost
remember
good.
that. It's an amazing bottle.
That bottle
I've had that at a restaurant before,
and
and it was special. And it would just pair so beautifully with cigars. It's like made to pair with cigars.
It does. Anytime I head home to visit my parents, my dad's like, why don't you bring that bottle of Elmer T. Lee? And I show up, and like not only is my dad taking pours off of it, my mom's like, oh, this is really good.
Tastes really good with my ginger ale.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Me
that.
No, I'd be slapping wrists. No, they know that's maybe a single ice cube, or that's going into Glencairn.
Oh, unicorns, people. Let us know what yours are. Drop a comment on the YouTube video if you're watching this. I want to know about these cigars that you've always wanted, whiskeys you've always wanted, maybe ones that you've found. What's the craziest bourbon you found that you paid retail for? Because some of those stories are just like the El Martili are nuts. It's like, wow, you got lucky.
Yeah.
You were at the right place at the right time. That is such an amazing part about cigars, about whiskey is, yes, there are amazing, not even arguably, way more amazing regular production cigars that are consistent, but there are those special ones that are limited quantities for whatever reason it is, and it's just fun to find them and find a good time and good people to enjoy them with, period.
Absolutely. And if you have any of the cigars or whiskeys that we've talked about as our unicorns, light them up, pour a glass, enjoy it on our behalf, and let us know that you did so we can live vicariously through you and enjoy that. And
if you have Eagle Rare 17, we will drop our P.O. box in the show notes below. Feel free to send it, and we'll get you hooked up with cigars for the next, 2 years. Hey, we appreciate you all. Pugh, great episode.
Absolutely.
Love chatting about this kind of stuff.
Fun.
We've got some brand interviews coming up, and more 2 Daves, 2 Pallets always for you every single Tuesday on the Cigar Club podcast. The end of season 1 is nearing, but we've got some cool stuff lined up. In season 2, we're coming out with a bang. You just wait and see.
Better than ever.
Appreciate you guys. Make sure you like this video. Show us some love. Download it on Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, wherever you do your streaming. We will talk to you all next Tuesday. Happy smoking.
Until next time.
Peace.